So I've been noticing this music trend, and apparently it's been going on for years. And in this video, I'm gonna expose the 2 manipulative strategies behind why artists are releasing multiple versions of the same song. So let's go. In September of 2023, Doja Cat released her Demons Paint the Town Red EP. I loved it. So I went to Spotify, had to hear it, right? And so began my 23-minute and 54-second 2-song experience. Demons Explicit started. Next, Paint the Town Red Explicit. But wait, Paint the Town Red sped up. Paint the Town Red slowed down. Paint the Town Red clean. Paint the Town Red instrumental. Are there any more Paint the Town Reds I should know about? Meow. It did remind me of when Lil Nas X released multiple versions of Old Town Road, so I didn't really think a lot of it until Ariana Grande, February 2024. Ariana Grande released 58 minutes of the same song, not including the Kids Bop version. Naturally, I had to know why this seemed strategic. So I started Googling. There was no Quizlet, but there was this article. Why are there so many versions of Ariana Grande's Yes and on streaming? Bam, exactly what I was looking for. Abby Jones tweets out, in case you missed it, and let's be honest, you probably didn't, Ariana Grande returned last week with her new single, Yes and. The key word here being single, so why are there so many versions of the song on streaming platforms? On Spotify, there are 8 versions of the track filled with the single album. It's a bit less obvious on iTunes, where each version of the track is organized as a separate single. That is, until you go to the overall best-selling tracks and realize that 14 slightly different versions of Yes and are currently floating around the top 100 spots. So what the hell is going on here? So Abby Jones clearly is hot on the trail. This is exactly what we were looking for. However, she does have one thing wrong. I counted 15 versions of the same song. Again, not counting Kids Bop, but who's counting? Abby also mentioned something interesting here. She says, Grande and her team also beat TikTok audio makers to the punch by releasing both a sped up and a slowed down version of Yes and before the amateurs could. Was this what we were looking for? Is this one of our reasons? This does sound like a pretty good reason to release multiple versions of the same song. Skyrocket popularity on TikTok, beat the amateurs to the punch. So clearly we gotta dig deeper. We gotta dig deeper into the TikTok sphere of multiple versions, slightly different versions of the same song. And in this NBC article titled, TikTok users are demanding that their favorite musicians release sped up songs, is kind of sounding like it's our answer. Sarah Kaufman notes in this article that the hashtag sped up sounds has amassed 14.8 billion views, and hundreds of accounts on TikTok have gained millions of followers from speeding up songs on their own and posting them to TikTok. I believe this is what Abby Jones was speculating. A TikTok spokesperson even brought up that remixes will oftentimes see even more engagement than the original, noting that last January, R&B star Miguel released an official sped up version of his 2010 single, Sure Thing, which went viral on TikTok and made its way to the Billboard Top 20 over a decade after its original release. Lil Nas X also credits TikTok and its users as the biggest reason Old Town Road reached the charts and stayed there for an astounding 19 weeks. Thanks to the Billy Ray Cyrus remix, I'm sure all the other remixes, and absolutely no thanks to the country music industry, who booted him off Billboard Hot 100 country charts and would not let him back in. So clearly TikTok is one of the reasons why music artists are releasing multiple versions of the same song. But while we were going through those articles, there was something there that nobody was necessarily pinpointing that they suspiciously didn't focus on. The Billboard Hot 100. The Billboard Hot 100 is a weekly chart that ranks the most popular songs in the US. Essentially, it's a popularity contest driven by streaming numbers, radio play, and sales. There's like a percentage that goes for each or whatever. And as we're gonna see here, it's more of a reflection of marketing strategies and trends. So much like my high school projects, I relied heavily on some other people here. Thankfully, Abby Jones and Forbes did the heavy lifting for me. This article Abby mentions from Forbes titled, "Ariana Grande is obviously reaching for a #1 hit as Yes and dominates iTunes." I'm gonna have to trust them. I don't have an iPhone. It is what it is. Okay, it might not have been as suspiciously lurking as I let on, and it was in the first article all along, but that's not how you tell a good story. Anyhow, Forbes points out, it's common practice these days for major musicians to employ this plan, releasing multiple versions of the same song, to ensure the biggest debut possible for Billboard's charts. The company, Billboard, lumps all versions of one song title into a single entity. That means that the sales of all 14 versions of the same song, Yes and, will be grouped together into one release. Fans now have the option to buy them all, helping their favorite artist score another huge win. Again, Abby and Forbes are wrong. There are 15 versions of Yes and the Hot 100 is not only based on physical and digital sales, but more on that in a moment. So why debut at #1? The Benjamins, baby. Debuting at the #1 spot boosts an artist's visibility and commercial opportunities. You don't get to make your own perfume not getting that #1 spot. So it doesn't necessarily mean their song is a song of a generation. It doesn't necessarily mean that their music is groundbreaking or even better than the rest of the songs. It's all about playing the game, pandering to mainstream music tastes, and releasing 15 versions of the same song. So why release 15 versions of the same song? As I mentioned before, Forbes has it wrong here, because the Billboard Hot 100 not only is calculated by how many physical and digital sales it amasses, but it includes radio airplay in the US, plus streaming, which includes Spotify, iTunes, and even YouTube, where I have to point out that Ariana Grande has like 5 more versions of Yes and in particular on YouTube. Like, it's like behind the scenes, a cappella. It's a whole thing. There's even more. So all of these versions, including YouTube streams, are being calculated into one entity song on the Billboard Hot 100. Debuting with 15 versions of the same song, it almost guarantees a #1 spot by how many streams will be taking place. I personally didn't know how this Billboard Hot 100 was calculated until now, and I have to tell you, I was absolutely shocked. I worked in radio for a few years, and I never even thought to question it. I didn't think about it at all, actually. I don't know if you have, but this is the game. This is the game the music industry's playing. And I actually ended up watching a lot about music marketing, and it was pretty interesting stuff. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, using remixes and multiple versions of the same song has been going on for years. The music industry, baby. Billboard wrote their own article titled, "A History of Remixes Affecting the Top of the Billboard Hot 100, from Mariah Carey to Lil Nas X." So overall, I guess this isn't new information. It's been going on since 1995 with the Old Dirty Bastard remix of Fantasy. Although the article points out that Mariah Carey did not need any help getting to the #1 spot. She already did it like 8 times before this. I recommend checking out this video by Mr. Breast, who puts together this cool audio visual line graph of how these different songs affected the charts. Anyhow, it seems like releasing multiple versions of the same song helps increase an artist's reach and get them potentially to the #1 spot of the Billboard Hot 100. They could even win a Grammy because of it. That's all. Interesting stuff. And you know what else is interesting? That early 2000s reality TV made you sexist. Yep, go check it out. But don't watch that TikTok video, okay? I'm trying to keep it below 5 views. So just check out the other one.